Whilst we talk about the United States, have to talk about the U.S. presidential race as well. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump insulted Vice President Kamala Harris and invoked the memory of golf legend Arnold Palmer during a campaign visit to La Trobe in Pennsylvania. Donald Trump went after Harris, calling her a threat to democracy and using offensive words to describe her job as the vice president. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, on the other hand, repeated her call for a ceasefire in Israel's war in Gaza and said it was important to seize the opportunity provided by the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, a mastermind of the October 7th attack.
Well, it's good to be back in Detroit.
How risky is it that you could lose the election?
Well, it is undeniable that it is something that everyone is aware of what is happening there. I speak publicly all the time about the fact that there are so many tragic stories coming from Gaza, and of course the first in this phase of everything that has happened, the first most tragic story is October 7th and what happened that day, and then what has happened since. And I think what's critically important as we look at this moment is, one, acknowledging the tragedy of what has happened in Gaza in terms of the extraordinary number of innocent Palestinians who have been killed, and taking that seriously and speaking truth about that. In addition, of course, to what I said about what happened on October 7 in terms of 1,200 innocent Israelis being slaughtered, women being horribly raped. And then fast forwarding to today with the killing of Sinwar, this creates an opening that I believe we must take full advantage of to dedicate ourselves to ending this war and bringing the hostages home.
But it's not working so far.
You know what? Listen, as it relates to the issues in the Middle East and in particular in that region, it has never been easy. But that doesn't mean we give up, okay? It is always going to be difficult. It does not mean we give up. We can't give up.
Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is seeing a record turnout in North Carolina and Georgia for early voting. Democrat Kamala Harris, she hit the campaign trail on Saturday, pressing her case with voters from Georgia to Pennsylvania who are already starting to cast ballots in the U.S. presidential election. Harris and Trump are essentially tied in the most competitive states, and many Americans are voting early by mail or in person, with just 17 days left until the November 5th election.
Well, it's good to be back in Detroit, and so we're here back today to thank all the folks for the work that they are doing to help organize, register people to vote, and get them out to vote. And today, early voting begins in Detroit. So it is good to be back here and obviously to be in a great American city and to applaud it for being just that, a great American city with a lot of hardworking folks who have grit and ambition and deserve to be respected for all of that. Well, what I'm hearing is that we're seeing record turnout. What I'm hearing is that in Georgia, for example, we're beating all records in terms of early voting, and in North Carolina. And in fact, today in Michigan, I'm going to challenge the folks here to do the same. So, you know, I don't yet have enough data to tell you who's voting for who and or how they're leaning. But I think it's great that people are turning out and voting and being active. It's what we should all want, right, in our democracy, that people understand it's their civic duty, but also that they can make a difference. He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged, and it requires that response. I think the American people are seeing it, witnessing it in real time. And we must take note of the fact that this is an individual who wants to be president of the United States. And I think the American people deserve better than someone who actually seems to be unstable.
But as the clock ticks down to the U.S. presidential elections, just 2 weeks remain in a fiercely contested battle between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. In this high-stakes showdown, we take you through the American lens and reports from the U.S. media revealing a deeply divided electorate at this point in time. The battleground states, 7 critical arenas of influence, stand poised on a knife's edge. Harris, the Democratic nominee, is planning to campaign with Barack and Michelle Obama next week. And in recent speeches, Donald Trump has branded his rivals as the enemy within and discussed using military actions against them. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris has labeled him a fascist for the first very time. Now, Guardian polls show a divided electorate, particularly in 7 critical swing states: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona. In these states, numbers are so close that results fall within the error margins. Now, a recent survey, it indicates that Kamala has a slightly better voting average of 48% for the month of October.
Well, it's good to be back in Detroit, and so we're here back today to thank all the folks for the work that they are doing to help organize, register people to vote, and get them out to vote. And today, early voting begins in Detroit. So it is good to be back here and obviously to be in a great American city and to applaud it for being just that, a great American city with a lot of hardworking folks who have.
Now, whereas 47% voters side with Donald Trump and his campaign hammering controversial claim that illegal immigrants are poisoning the blood of America.
You know, Detroit has such great potential, but Kamala and the Democrats have been wreaking havoc on this place, this in many respects, it's a sacred place. So many things happened in Detroit, and it's been treated so badly, and they've been talking about comebacks for so long, but we're going to bring it back better than it ever was, better than it was many, many years ago. We're going to make Detroit great again. We're going to make it great again. You know, they want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And standing before you tonight, I am proclaiming to the people of this state that by the end of my term, the entire world will be talking about the Michigan miracle and the stunning rebirth of Detroit. And this will be a real rebirth.